Afternoon, son.
Hello, brothers.
Son, we're looking for the maniac.
Have you seen this man?
Oh, it's the maniac! Take him away! Take him away!
Calm down, son. It's just a drawing, not the real thing. Now we're gonna show you this picture again, and you tell us if you've seen this guy, understand?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, horrible!
Stay indoors, son.
And, take that cone off your head.
FX's Shogun is a groundbreaking drama based on the novel Shogun by James Clavell. This novel already had an adaptation in the 80s, although its newest adaptation has already gotten love from critics and Game of Thrones fans. Shows like this always get compared to arguably one of the greatest shows on television. Game of Thrones, my understanding. Game of Thrones, with its unique world building, set of characters, and iconic moments and music. Now, when it ended the way it ended, years passed and we haven't gotten a single show in the same format that can even recreate such intricate storytelling, unless you watch anime. Lol. Until now, they got samurai. For your Game of Thrones fans, they've got weird sexual desires.
What?
They've got death. They got child abuse. Got peeing. They've got horses. They've got rulers and kingdoms. Basically, the game of Shogun. I was looking forward to the show ever since I've gotten the advertisement on it all over Twitch. Like a lot of ads. At first I thought it was those industry plant type of shows that come and go. I'm trying to watch Kaitsuna in Taiwan with Ray when I hear I will admit, I am sucker for Japan Edo period, oldie Japan type things. I thought the idea of a long-term show that explores how life was like during such a crucial point in Japan's history would be cool. And also samurai are cool, so since 1 + 1 = 3 and monkey brain equals banana, I decided to watch the show. Now immediately, I was still skeptical until I saw that Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100. Now this is the same Rotten Tomatoes that gave Captain Blondie and Cutie's high numbers as well. But not only is this piece of artwork being loved by Rotten Tomatoes or critics, but they are calling it the next Game of Thrones. So today we will compare and contrast, go into detail what makes the Game of Thrones so iconic, and how Shogun can learn to become even better. We are finding the how and why, because there's got to be more than just having a similar sense of violence, nudity, or raunchiness. I think when it comes to building worlds such as Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Snowfall, Better Call Saul, My Little Pony, A&P, or Detroit Become Human, there's one key similarity among these. There are your star players. Star players are characters kind of like GTA 5, where you switch back and forth between them, as they're all doing something with one set of world or time. It ends up binding into one another, or interacting, or affecting one another like a web, like a connected chain, or something that can create web, or something that can create the world that these characters in mean something to one another. And to keep the viewer involved is to have a likable character. So what happens when you have multiple likable characters, likable main characters, side characters? You generate a fan base. Game of Thrones does this beautifully by having fan favorites who are leaders of their shows, such as Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, or even Cersei Lannister. In Shogun, the three characters we follow in the tale are Yoshi, Toranaga, Jon Blackthorne, and Tora Mariko. I'm going to be honest, my favorite character so far is Jon Blackthorne. Maybe it is the amount of suffering and hardship he has to go through just to not get killed that is kind of entertaining and comedic in a sense, where a white man who you think be powerful in these times be the most sorrowful filled character, and you just want to see him win and not die in Japan. Like, get out of Japan, gang. I feel as if his parts of the story are the most engaging because of how dangerous it is for him in the story. We like drug shows because of how characters can get into such high risk situations. This is no different. Shows that follow a prisoner or someone who is on a dangerous mission will keep the viewer the most focused, as they are growing to care about the protagonist they are following. So is Jon Blackthorne the next Jon Snow? Okay, now we are getting ahead of ourselves. A show that its writer's main goal was to turn it into the next Game of Thrones was the Avatar live action. I haven't watched it yet, but it probably has the most mixed reviews of all anime live actions. The point is, critics did not see this Avatar goof as the next Game of Thrones. And to be honest, I didn't either. One of the things I think makes Shogun stand out is its beauty and grittiness. If you can somehow incorporate both in your story without it being weird or it being a little like flimsy, then you have a good show. What makes Game of Thrones so great is its realism to show stuff was like at certain points in history. Game of Thrones has its realistic medieval elements with some dragons and magic in the mix. Shogun offers a realistic interpretation of the Edo period. I mean, so far into the story, I do not see anything mystical yet, unless they pull out some ninjutsu or ryo. It seems pretty true to the time period, which was probably true to the novel as well. The best way to subvert an audience's expectations is to do some gross stuff, or some death, or some whatever the fuck this is. Twists and turns, when done well and not goofy can create some great character moments for our main cast, causing them to lose it all or gain a sense of their situation. An example of this is when we see a white guy protag going through the absolute worst, rather than him having some sort of plot armor, which he still kind of does, but definitely doesn't go through stuff unfazed. Or how easy of an order it was back then to end your family lineage based on a crash out. Little stuff like this keeps people's mind tuned in to the mayhem and chaos that ensues. A quote from Game of Thrones says, "Chaos is not a pit, chaos is a ladder." Even though this show does have some pits and ladders, which is kind of funny. We see this in Game of Thrones as well, with killing off characters we thought would have more screen time. When a story follows predictable tropes and cliches, audiences may be disengaged or lose interest. Subverting Expectations keeps audiences guessing and intrigued as they are unable to predict the outcome of the story. This engagement can lead to a deeper emotional investment in the characters and their journey. Subverting Expectations can also be a valuable tool for character development. When characters behave in unexpected ways or undergo surprising transformations, it adds complexity and depth to their personalities. This allows for more nuanced and realistic portrayals of human behavior, which can resonate deeply with the audiences. I think what nails in the coffin that is Game of Thrones and Shogun's similarity is both shows present the tone and mood of the show right in the first episode. I've already explained most of the stuff they present, but there's a hint of wonder and magic that makes us want to dive into a world and character. Game of Thrones does do the whole subverting expectations part better, but sometimes the shock value within Game of Thrones is too much. I believe Shogun envisions this in a more smooth way that makes its shock value necessary because it fits with the time period. Not to say Game of Thrones setting and practices they do in that show doesn't fit, but there is a limit where it can get excessive. Hopefully, I hope the showrunner doesn't do a direct following of the books too much, or at least tweak some things in order to create a perfected version of James Clavell's work, rather than just create something that no one would find any reasonable sense for things to be the way they are. Why does Daenerys become a murderer when she has been shown to be merciful? Stuff like this always bothered me in shows because you can create something so craftsmanship worthy, yet put a poop stain on top like it's a cherry. At least we have Breaking Bad with an actual good ending. What Shogun can do is create memorable characters and to not be afraid to direct away from the source material, especially when it's for its benefit. Okay, so at the time of this recording, the Rotten Tomatoes score tipped from 100 to 99. Let me know your thoughts on this. Is this specifying the clue that this is industry plant of a show? Short answer, maybe. Most TV dramas, like Last of Us, attempt to imitate Game of Thrones' iconic intro. The intro is a video of overlooking the settings while music plays in the background. The funny thing about Shogun intro is that at first I had no idea why there was sand just being all around. Like Japan Edo period, and then there's just sand. I don't know why it was just so weird to me. Like apparently Japanese sand gardens are a very common thing that was in the Edo period. I just wasn't aware that it was so special to replace every water bit with sand. We haven't seen any large-scale battles or battles in general besides some slaughter, so we have yet to see what Shogun has in store for us. But so far we've seen S-tier set pieces and amusing visuals. Like the cinematography is generally nice, and that's what I think it does better than Game of Thrones in my opinion. But maybe it's recency bias. Then again, anything I could say can be recency bias. Shogun is a new addition to the Samurai Media. Samurai Media over the years has been so cool with all the games dropping about it. We've never gotten a good vision of this Ghost of Tsushima level storytelling live action. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any movies at all that compare or fights in TV that compare, but something like Shogun is exactly what the samurai media needed. A Game of Thrones style show that flourishes with Japan culture. If they do their samurai battles right, we are in for a real treat. Just think of the anime level fights in live action. The closest we've gotten to something like that is in Game of Thrones. Battles and fights that add tension, thrill, and epicness to the TV show experience. Like I said before, if stuff is done well, we are in for a real treat. A fine well dish that is served in a hot plate, seasoned well, made with firm yet calm hands. I need the soundtrack to be on point. I need the acting to be on point. I need everything on point. The show has a good start. A good start can only lead so far. So is FX's Shogun the next Game of Thrones? Maybe. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you like these type of videos, I also stream every now and then. If you're subscribed, you'll see when I'm live, because I usually post when I'm live on there. And also leave a comment what you think of the show Shogun, or to recommend me to talk about other shows and movies y'all want to see. Peace.